Welcome, Ash. It is so lovely to have you here today. It's we haven't spoken or seen each other for quite a few years, about 7 years now.
Yeah, about that. About five. Yeah, that's right. I've been here now 5 years. So,
Yes, and we've
mm,
left Trinity Beach 7 years ago. So we met in Trinity Beach where you had the massage shack,
yeah.
and yes, it was lovely to get treatments from you and also to work at your clinic. It was really lovely.
That's right.
Yes, a few hours a week. Um, and yes, we had this connection not only with work, but also the treatments that you gave me and also exercise, because you really are keen on exercise, aren't you?
You were very inquisitive,
Mm,
so it was nice having you in for the discussions because yeah, the exercise has become sort of a major component of sort of how I progressed from what I was doing with the soft tissue work, and then sort of I had this feeling that a lot of people that were coming in for soft tissue treatments didn't necessarily need that. They predominantly just needed to move. So that's when I sort of made the move and decided to go back to study for a few years and ended up where I am now, which is in stage three lockdown in Bendigo. And yeah, here we are.
yes. And we're stage 4 lockdown
Yeah,
in
that's
Melbourne.
right.
You don't
Yeah.
wear your mask at the moment. I'm not either.
No, no.
No. So when you were in Trinity Beach,
Yes.
you had the some people from New Zealand Olympic team stop in Trinity Beach for treatments with you before they went to London for the Olympics.
Yeah. What happened was um, prior to that, there was this gentleman came in the clinic one day, and he was about 6'4", blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Nordic-speaking fellow, and we got chatting to him, and he had a shoulder injury.
Mm.
And I said to him, the first thing I said to him, I didn't even say hello to him. I just said, well, "You're a long way from home." Like, he just did not fit the Trinity Beach mold at all. And it turns out his name was Oliver Stephansen, and he was the Icelandic handball captain. And
Mm.
what had happened was he'd had a shoulder injury. He played for a Spanish handball team, and they gave him some time off to try and sort out his shoulder because he just couldn't get anyone to help him out. Anyway, because of the Sydney 2000 games, he loved Australia so much that he brought his family back, and he just so happened to be at Trinity Beach. So he came in, had a chat to him, put him on the table, and did some work with him, and he loved it. Anyway, he ended up coming in. He was there for a week. I think I saw him about 5 or 6 times for different things in that week.
Yeah.
And at the end of that period, I got a phone call from him saying, if we offered you a 12-month contract in Spain, would you be interested in coming out? And I'd only just opened up the clinic then. And so I sort of went, oh, no, I can't. And my daughter was very young at the time as well. And so it wouldn't have fitted in with the lifestyle at all. Looking back, yeah, maybe I should
Mm.
have, maybe I shouldn't have. But that got my interest in maybe there is something around there that I could assist with professional sport, or even at the local level. Like, I was sponsoring clubs, AFL clubs, and a soccer club. I had a little bit to do with other sports around the area, mountain biking and the CrossFit community.
Mm.
And I ended up becoming part of a thing called Sports Massage Oz. So any international or national teams in the area that, well, they happened to be in far North Queensland at the time, that needed soft tissue work, then I'd get a phone call and I had the opportunity to work with them. And one of them was the New Zealand, I think they call themselves the Aqua Blacks. And I worked with them they were there for 2 weeks climatizing, prior to going, I think it was over to London for those
Yeah.
games. Yeah, it was those games. That's how far back it was. Well,
Yes.
and yeah, interesting experience. It was interesting in the fact that how much they didn't really know about themselves. Swimming isn't a major component or a sport of New Zealand. So funding wise, you know, they're lacking that a little bit. They don't have access to physios. I think they got to see a physio once a week, I think. So
Okay.
I really appreciated the fact of someone getting their hands on them. So yeah, that was good. But yeah, and then from that also, I did some work with the Sydney Dance Theatre. That was good. The Aboriginal dance group, Bangara. That was phenomenal. They're true athletes, dancers.
Yes.
That blew me away working with those guys. Yeah,
It
and
would
I've
be
done
a totally
some
different
work with some other
field to
professionals.
work on bodies that are so fit than on bodies of people who move occasionally.
Yeah, well, you can't make a great. Well, you do make some significant difference to the trained athletic body, so to call it. I think you can make greater change to those that aren't so conditioned,
Mm.
and they're probably a little bit more appreciative as well. I hate using the word general public, but yeah, as opposed to trained athletes and things like that. I worked in the National Basketball League for a few seasons, and nice bunch of guys, but yeah, you get that 1% improvement and they're happy. Whereas if someone comes in the clinic from a referral or something like that, and you increase their overhead position in, with range or something like that, and they can do something basic as putting the washing on the line without pain.
Absolutely.
That is
Yeah. And
that's
there's
my element. Yeah, I love that.
one little thing you told me at the time that has stayed with me. And it reminds me of something that happened when I was about 22, walking behind an elderly lady, and she was having lots of difficulty walking. She was stooped and she seemed to be in pain. And it hit me then that I was lucky to still be young and fit. And what you mentioned at the time is a lot of people don't open up their hips when they walk. And I think it was your mum, you asked her to walk backwards, and it made a big difference. And I've never forgotten that comment that you made. And I
Yeah.
now see the difference in how people walk. And I also share with clients that it is important to open those hips. Can you
Yeah,
share a bit
definitely.
more about hip health?
Well, I suppose when as we get a little bit older, and or even today's lifestyle, we tend to sit a lot, and so we're in a flexed position. So we're sort of like in a bent over position a lot, and it was interesting with my mother. Like mum's, I think 83, 84, and 83, and she gardened a lot. So even today, I don't think she realizes she's in her 80s. So she lifts and does all the things that we're supposed to do: push, pull, lift, carry, and walk and stuff like that. She's never had a license. So she's always walked everywhere. And I honestly believe that is why she is the way she is today. Is just she's very active in the garden. But it was quite interesting how she's always like bent over doing things in the garden. So when she comes out of that position into what they call extension, it was always a little bit of a bit of a struggle, so to speak. So I got her into walking backwards just to get those extensors on her back line just fired up. And she started doing it. And she made a comment. She goes, that's just made a big difference.
Yeah.
So something as simple as that. And
Yes.
also it's balance. Ask someone to walk backwards, and it's very interesting to watch at any age. It's
Absolutely.
really.
And how do you see the whole pelvis, the hip area, with stronger muscles or weaker muscles as we age, for our balance, for our posture, for our physical health?
Just generally, you do get an age-related strength decline, and called cyclopenia. It's a breakdown of muscle tissue, bone density. These are things we can't avoid, but you can slow the progress.
Yeah.
And where there used to be a major focus on sort of heart health, and you've got to keep walking and do aerobic sorts of fitness. There is definitely a huge push these days for resistance-based exercise, lifting weights,
Yeah.
whether it be in a structured environment, which is basically exercise where it's structured, or physical activity that's incidental, lifting things outside, lifting your own body weight. People do it every day anyway, getting in and out of chairs, on and off the toilet, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's never used as a sort of a training mechanism. And there's a simple exercise called a sit to stand. And it's basically going from a seated position to a standing position, back down to a seat. So you do it for repetition.
Yeah.
Over time, it creates endurance, and you watch people that struggle with the first couple of repetitions. I've got people with Parkinson's disease as clients and stuff like that, and the first couple are a struggle. Once you get that whole motor control and learning and engaging all your muscles again, it soon comes on. It does not take long for adaptation.
Great. And that for people who get older, it is good it's never too late to start exercising and using those muscles. And one of the things that I make clients aware of, be mindful how you sit on a chair, how you sit on the couch, and how you sit on the toilet. Use your muscles in your legs and the abdominals as well to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you train it, it becomes second nature. You don't want we don't want to go through our years having to try and, think about this all the time and think about that. Once it's ingrained and it becomes part of motor control, and you've set up what they call neural pathways for these things to happen, it's second nature.
Yeah.
And it just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to train it. And
Yes.
there's negative and positive adaptation. And if you do things well, often enough, you get a positive adaptation. If you sit on your butt all day long and do nothing, you're going to adapt, but in a negative way. So
Yes.
it's really important that you're mindful of what we do in our exercises and things like that. And they're functional exercises, things that are going to help us with our activities of daily living.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what you do is exercise physiology. Could you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, what we basically are, we're university trained exercise specialists, and we prescribe exercise for those with chronic disease, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, neurological conditions, psychological conditions as well. There's a huge push with that at the moment. There's accredited exercise physiologists popping up in mental health units in hospitals. It's the evidence. If you could put exercise, there's quite a few people have said this, but if you could put exercise into a pill, it would be prescribed every day by doctors.
Yeah.
But you can't. So they go for the easy option of pharmacological. There's pills for everything these days.
Yeah.
But there's massive evidence behind exercise. And that's where we come into it. We're an allied health professional. We sit alongside physios, occupational therapists, things like that.
Right.
I'm just about to commence with a team, a physio, an OT. We're transitioning a gentleman out of hospital into his home care. And so I'm taking over into his home care, and I'll be designing and prescribing exercise that he can do to keep his upper body strong. Yeah.
Great. Now, when you explain all this, I can hear people think, how much exercise do I have to do every day or every week?
Depends. It on what's your base level, where you're at. Like, do you have any chronic disease? As we get older, it's very, very common for someone to have diabetes. A lot of these aged care facilities, they're we're hearing that they're, you know, getting ill from this COVID and all that sort of stuff, but we don't know their underlying comorbidities. And we are living longer, but we're also living longer with disease.
Yes.
What we're starting to figure out now is that we think about exercise, and not just aerobic exercise. We start lift, that changes our metabolism and our insulin resistance improves. That you grow muscle mass if you put it under stress right up until the day we check out. So yeah, there's no age limit on that at all. One thing that we do have to take into account, women especially, I mean, you guys go through quite a few major stage changes.
Yes.
Through your life, and when cyclopenia is very common with women. I mean, you probably around the age of 25, the bone matrix that you're dealt with, that you're given around that time, when you've developed, starts to decline after around that age.
That's early.
It is. So everyone's does it from a certain age, but with women, when you get to that age, 25, that's your maximum. So what you do with it after that is really important to start to load bear, you know, do some load bearing activities of some kind, you know, whether it's running. I mean, running has always been a bad guy, but it's not. It's proven that to be incorrect. You know, it's good load bearing activity on your bone, generates more bone matrix, has to adapt.
That was going to be my next question, because using muscles strengthens the bones.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And even if that's just what, you know, body weight exercise.
Yeah.
There's huge evidence behind body weight exercise.
Yeah.
Just simple things, you know, leaning against a wall. If you can't do it, a lot of people can't do a single push-up. Doesn't matter. You use it as a progression. So you can actually, you know, you're against a wall first and you're just doing some nice wall push-ups. And when that becomes easier, you go to your kitchen bench, which is on, you know, more of an angle. And then you slowly get into a horizontal position where you can. And you can do it. It's just a matter of practice and consistency. The thing with exercise, a lot of people start off, they're all motivated, you know, 1 hour out of 24 a day. It's what you do in the other 23 that really counts. But it's consistency. 2 or 3 times a week of resistance training. Minimum recommendation is 2. If you do any more than that, it's great. Not for the full day, obviously, but we're looking at, say, you know, 60 minutes of some kind of activity. Ideally, what we're looking at is the guidelines say 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity, aerobic activity. So it's 150 minutes and that's half an hour a day for 5 days of a decent walk. I think most people can find that. They say they don't. That's your you got to prioritize. So
exactly. And when people hear half an hour, it's a big block in your day when you're working full time and you've got a family to look after and cooking and all that sort of stuff. But you can divide that in 3 smaller walks, can't you?
Chunking.
Yes. And walking up the stairs, running up the stairs.
Yeah, exactly. Just it's simple things, all incidental exercise that all mounts up. You know, I could get someone that could run, say, 5K in a decent time, very fit, athletic, put them on a flight of stairs, completely different activity, and they'll be puffing and panting at the top of the stairs. And that's just from walking up them. Because they're different energy systems. One is aerobic, so you need oxygen to generate, like to get your energy. The other one's called anaerobic, or basically where you're actually going upstairs and you're using a different energy system. So what you want to do is mix it all up. Add some stairs, add some walks, keep it interesting. Add some resistance of some kind, your body weight, or grab a set of dumbbells and do some simple exercises.
Yes, and you don't have to have the heavy ones, do you? It's the repetition that counts. I've heard.
Yes, but there is some really, really good evidence at the moment behind pretty vigorous intensity exercise of lifting load. There's a gentleman in Castlemaine, and I hope he forgives me, I've forgotten his name, but he runs a strength and conditioning studio there, and he's got in late 60s, early 70-year-olds. And I remember seeing a documentary about him on the ABC. It was about his little studio there. And he said that, or was a lady interview, and I don't think she was about 68 or 69 when she first set foot into his gym. And he's a power lifter. So all they're mainly focused on is squat, deadlift, and bench press.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that she's broken 2 Australian records now. I think it's for deadlift, I think. But
Wow.
I know that it's one of them. But she said it's not so much the records. She's 71 now, I believe, 71, 72. It's the fact that she finds shopping easier and getting in and out of her car. That's
Absolutely.
the big thing for her.
Yeah. And that doing those exercises has a beneficial effect on all the organs, I believe, because when you use the muscles, they massage all the internal organs as well, don't they?
Yeah, we're a system of systems.
Yeah.
We take air in, respiratory system goes into our lungs, we can go into partial pressures, all that sort of stuff goes in, diffuses into our vascular, into our blood system. From there, it then goes out to the body, out to the periphery. Oxygen's drawn out into our muscles, but the more that we puff and pant and we strengthen all of those sorts of muscles, we take more air in, oxygen, and more oxygen going around the body.
Yeah.
We're having to use our muscle more. Our fibers get more little energy cells called mitochondria that we put under stress. They're more vasculated, so the capillary beds around the muscles become more, engorged in blood and all that sort of stuff. So movement, activity, body weight, whether it's an artificial weight with dumbbells, huge benefits as we get
and it's good for the brain as well with all those results internally.
I mean, again, it's been shown 30% increase in mood.
Happy hormones.
Why would you not go for something like that?
Absolutely. And one thing I'd like to say as well from my own experience, you mentioned when you go running and suddenly you run upstairs that you puff, and I've seen that with someone who is fit and walked up the stairs with me and she was puffing, and we live on the 5th floor, so I take the stairs and run up them most of the time, and there's as many steps here as there is in Trinity Beach where we used to go up the hill. Which was a great thing to do there, but I do it now every day several times, which is great. But when I swim, I normally don't swim much at all because we don't have a pool. But when I am in the pool, I make an effort to make a couple of laps, and I find that I'm short of breath because it's a different exercise. That's why we need to mix them, don't we?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I can run. I live in a place called the O'Keefe Trail, so it's a beautiful bush run. It goes for 40 odd Ks or something. I was training last year for a half, and I was doing some 15K runs out to Axter. You put me in a pool, I swim like a brick. I drag my legs, 50 meters, I get to the end, I'm puffing and panting. It's all about practice, and it's like anything. We all start off as a white belt, and you build on it. You build your skills, you build your movement. You have to earn the right to get to those,
Exactly. And I like what you said there, because it's really great for people and women as well in their 40s and 50s who haven't got much time to for themselves, to know that they can build that strength and that aerobic capacity and all that gradually, and it's never too late to start.
No, definitely. But it's got to be fun too.
Yes.
If it's not fun, feels like a chore. No one's going to do it.
Exactly.
But I think if you stick to it with the consistency and you start to see the changes and you start to feel them, that's a driver in itself.
Yeah.
And then once it does become a little bit easier, it starts to become fun.
Mm.
And then that broadens your horizons to, wow, I can go and do that,
Yeah.
or I can do that big hill, and I can do this and I can do that. Yeah.
No,
But it's just
that's,
behavioral change, just making those first steps.
yeah. No, that's great. Thank you so much for all that information, Ash. It's valuable. What is the best way for people to contact you?
Probably via email. I'm doing a new website at the moment, but it'll be Ash at Keystone Exercise Physiology. Oh, that's a big long. So it's Ash at keystoneexercisephysiology.com.au. And
Great.
yeah, please just send me an email. I love this stuff, so I'll answer everyone's emails. I've
Yeah.
probably put my foot in it now.
Well, it's, there's a way to start. And I look forward to seeing your new website when it's up and running.
Yeah,
And
slowly.
having worked with you and having seen you exercise along the beach, when I went for my walks, you were there with the kettlebells and running and doing sprints.
Oh
And I,
yeah.
I
I
remember
still
joining
keep
in with one of the short sprints
I
once.
still keep in contact with the guy I used to train with there, Greg. Well, I moved to Bendigo, and then he moved his family down to the Sunshine Coast. But yeah, we still liaise, yeah, and
Great,
reminisce about.
great. Well, thank you so much, Ash. And
No, no problem.
I look forward to catching up with you one day when we can travel again. It would be
Yes,
really
yeah, sounds
nice.
good. Yeah, I
Thank
mean, really,
you.
you're only an hour and a half up the road, 2 hours, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it'll definitely happen. I think when we.
Okay, well, I'll give you a virtual hug and thank you.